something that, you know, as they consider whatever considerations we make in reference to how we want to develop the island, is making sure that we study whatever the project is and really understand how and what the benefit is going to be, and then at the back end to ensure that these things are actually happening. Because again, you know, with the VLTs in St. Thomas, and you gave me this article which is, you know, really right on point. That started out to be a source of revenue. You know, that bill passed, they put them in because it was figured to be of great benefit to that area. But at the end of the day, what is it, a couple of years down the line now, they have not actually even collected any of the gross receipts. That's a highly unregulated area, so it has not worked out to be such a great benefit. And as we,
I think that, if I'm not mistaken, I think the figure was $22 million.
Yeah, that's a good deal. So what did
allegedly?
So what really happened? You know, with that situation, how did the territory really benefit? Because you can't isolate. You know, as our caller and Lorenzo's the maid said to him, you can't isolate the two economies, because that was a revenue stream for us, having the St. Thomians come over.
It's called the exchange. It's called an exchange.
And now that's no longer. In this article, this is in New Jersey, and as we know, New Jersey has a couple of casinos. Atlantic City being a really huge boardwalk of various casinos, but in addition to that, they have other, you know, things going on: food, games, family situations, hotels, so on and so forth. And they also have Foxwoods. I've been to both of them. They are now debating because they are considering the racinos, and Casino Association president attacked the VLT study. Now, the first thing that impressed me about this is the fact that they're taking the time. They use the Rutgers University, to my alma mater, to research what's really going on with this, and it brought something to the mind in that, okay, we have the casino, we tested that model. We did the VLT, we tested that model. We haven't perfected those two yet, and now we're considering going down another avenue with these racinos, and in other areas that have been doing casino business for many, many, many years are stating that that may not be necessarily a great idea, and for the same reasons that, you know, concerns. How is it affecting the neighboring states? How is it affecting casino revenue because it detracts from that? How is it affected? They said it's really basically is turning the horse racing industry into a casino, because now you're changing the type of clientele, and again, being that these machines are so enticing, studies have shown that you're going to get more people now going to the racetracks really to engage in that kind of thing versus engage in races. Now the pros,
but let me ask you this question. I mean, who's to say then that the car racing folks are not going to say, well, if you have slot machines at the racetrack, why can we have slot machines at the car racing track? Right. I mean,
and so then you're diluting then the presence of the casino and what that was supposed to be for us.
And legally, I'm sure legally they can challenge it. They can literally say, but wait a minute, we're in the racing business as well. It's a form of entertainment. People come out to see the races. So one is just you have a live animal, you know, racing with each other, and the other one have cars racing against each other. So the racing community, car racing community, say, listen, we want slot machines at the racetrack as well. So you set a precedent that I think there's a danger here that we need to be very cautious of, because what we're simply doing, are we going to risk cannibalizing an existing sector or segment of the marketplace for the purpose of short-sightedness in terms of, okay, well, let's bring this in because all of a sudden now the horse racing industry, which has existed for so many years, all of a sudden can't exist anymore because we need to have slot machines at the racetrack. When clearly the economic trends are saying, well, wait a minute, it's going in the opposite direction.
Right.
Racetracks are losing money left and right. So how does that really benefit the economy?
Right, and
or the government treasury.
Again, we need to do what this industry is doing in New Jersey, and they are, you know, they've been doing this for years and years and years. And if they're saying, you know, we got to study this a little further to ensure that what we see is what we get, and we're going to get the best bang for this buck, then we in the VI definitely need to do that as well intensely to make sure that if we do decide to go down this route, that we end up getting what we claim that we're going to get and don't end up getting something totally different.
Several years ago, when Paul Fleming was the executive director of the Virgin Islands Lottery, he came in and he had a PowerPoint presentation. He had data that showed that the Virgin Islands was losing $60 million a year. The lottery agency was losing $60 million a year because people in the Virgin Islands were playing illegally the Puerto Rican lottery. So we have all these holes in this system, this gaming system that we're not paying attention to.
Right.
Who's watching the store? Okay, we're all over the place, and we're not really creating a system that is working and proven to pay dividends for the local economy, because there's just too much leakage, and we're losing money. Is going out the door, the front door, back door, side door, through the window. I mean, it's just crazy.
When this is not regulated like casino control, because that is a highly regulated industry, and you have these little, side things going on, they can't be regulated like that. That creates such havoc in an area. We don't need to vamp up our gambling industry. We need to vamp up our tourism industry, because in many places, to St. Martin being one of them, people go down there very much to gamble. Locals are not able to go into those casinos but for a minimal amount of time. Now they know exactly why they do it, because this is not for these kind of industries are not for the local people, because you know exactly what happens. When you put that in a poverty-stricken area, people go there to pay their bills, and it becomes a cycle, and people become more impoverished. So in St. Martin, they have prohibited locals, but for so many hours, so that it's not the local economy, because that makes no sense. If the local economy is paying into this casino to pay back into the local economy, there's no additional monies being generated.
When you go to
you want the tourists to come in and generate that money.
When you go to Divi Casino, how many kids do you see at Divi Casino? When you go to the racetrack, when they have races, how many kids do you see at the races? Do you see where I'm going with this? This is a potential ticking time bomb that can work against the entire situation, because when you go to the racetrack, it's all locals. I ain't see no white people there.
Right.
Okay,
right.
I ain't see no Asian people. Okay, it's all
so why
local
are we trying to
people.
sell this to our own people?
Little kids with people going there as a family. Okay, for the race, and all of a sudden now we have this environment that is going to say, okay, this is what we're about.
I'm going to read this quote. Attendance and wagering at tracks have been on a decline nationally. And when you install slot machines at race tracks, it does nothing but turn horse racing tracks into casinos, Corvo said. He's one of the people that did that study. So now if you have these persons who have had the experience in this, saying this, and that's a decline nationally. Why exactly are we going that route?
My concern, okay, when we talk about economic development, we have to have the right game plan. We need to kind of sit down and map out. It's like designing a house. Okay, or going into business and coming up with a business plan. We need to have a master plan that speaks to what direction we want to go to in terms of growing, expanding our economy. When we have this, when we take the shotgun approach to dealing with this issue, all we're doing is we are hurting ourselves in the process, and we're not doing justice in terms of having a real viable chance to compete in terms of our local economy and location tourism destination.
Let me tell you something about Atlantic City and how it differs again, and Rocco and Lorenzo discussed this, and this has been my experience and knowledge of that area, because as Lorenzo stated, that around Atlantic City, I mean, for lack of a better word, it's desolate. It's no good development. It's a very poor area. School systems are bad, so on and so forth. That was an inner city that at the time that they put the casinos there. And what happened was, in the immediate areas, of course, the people can walk to the casino, so on and so forth, and it just had a social decay on that area, and it just never got redeveloped, because outside of